On purpose. So welcome please, Nathan.
Good evening everyone. Everyone hear me okay? Yeah. Good. So when I spoke to Tim about coming up here and sharing some of the things that I'm passionate about, he said, well, if you've got a 17th century Latvian collection of ukuleles, you can talk about that. If anyone has, I'm sorry, but I'm glad to say I haven't got that. So I'm going to be talking about purpose and about being on purpose. It's the thing that gets me really fired up. I'm really passionate about helping individuals find out what they're actually capable of. I get super fired up about how far a person can actually go in their own capabilities, how they can take an idea and expand upon that and impact their community and their family. And this is the stuff that gets me going in the morning. What is purpose? More importantly, what is your purpose? Countless books for thousands of years have talked about it and recited about it, and now more than ever, for the generations that are now with us, the millennials and the zennials that are coming up, everyone is talking about it, and everyone's talking about it a lot without any clarity about what it actually is. So I want to share a version of the truth that I found out. I'm not saying it is the truth, but I want to share that with you to help change and shape some of your thinking. The truth is, you all have a purpose, whether you believe it or not. Nature does not create or design anything on a whim. You are all hard-coded with a reason inside you. You just may have forgotten what it actually is. So what it is that I do, and coming back to this idea, is everything is linked together. It is an intricate ecology of evolution that connects you to everyone around you. Your purpose is deep inside you. It's you at your fundamental best. That reason I talk about is deep in the heart of you. There is an idea that everything in you, about you, around you is actually a solution to a problem. You are part of the solution. That's what you need to be sharing. That's how you need to be connecting with those people around you to help them. So what I'm going to do is help you to understand my part in that intricate web. And that's about helping frustrated individuals that feel stuck in their jobs, who are ambitious to create huge lasting impact, go and find meaning in their work. And I do that by challenging people's thinking so they can become more incredible than yesterday. And I want to share some of my story with you so that you, and more importantly the people that you connect with, can become more incredible than yesterday. Would that be okay with you? Good. That's the first hurdle. So to share some of my story, I was born in the late 70s, grew up in the 80s, and some of you may remember that. When we had a recession, we actually didn't go on holiday. I grew up in a time where my parents' mortgage jumped to almost 20%. I found the squeaky floor. And computer games didn't have a save function. You know, as kids, we learned perseverance. We learned how to hit every challenge head on. We grew up in an era where you could go out and play all day and your parents didn't care where you were as long as you came home for dinner. And that was a healthy lifestyle. As I, though, grew up and I went to school and I made it to secondary school, things changed quite drastically for me. I was an energetic boy that learned through seeing and doing, and I failed through hearing and repetition. I felt like the proverbial fish that Einstein talked about being measured against his ability to climb a tree. And I fell short every single time. But what happened was that frustration rapidly turned to agitation, and it boiled over. And those emotions became raw, and I railed against the system time and time again. And I fought anyone and everything in my path that I could get my teeth into. And they were hard times for me. Around about 14, with all this frustration in me, I'm walking home. And a group of boys are coming home from another school, Something didn't feel right. I felt uneasy. What proceeded to happen over the next days and weeks and potentially months started off as verbal abuse. It then turned to physical abuse and violence. And that lasted for a long time. But rather than tell anyone what to do, I took that vulnerable part of me and I squeezed it down and I hid it away. I walked, I lie actually, I ran 20 minutes extra onto my journey home so that I wouldn't have to face them. But I would always arrive exactly the same time because I ran so fast that no one would ever question me as to what was happening, and I wouldn't have to tell them. School taught me one very valuable lesson at that point. Hurt people hurt people. So I came from being the bullied to becoming the bully. I went from the prey to being predator. And I measured my pain on other people. And I kept that bottled up and I didn't reconcile it for a very long time. 10 years later, I'm lying on a grotty sofa in a grotty terrace house, about 20 minutes walk from Elephant and Castle in London. My eyes were closed, but I wasn't asleep. You could tell this because my eyes were moving so quickly under the lids. My arms were pulled up tight against my body, and my jaw was juxtaposed to the rest of my face at a horrific sort of death grip. Had you seen me, you would have done one of two things. You would have either pulled away in absolute disgust, or you would have called an ambulance, because you would have realised I'd just overdosed on recreational drugs. Kind of hard for me to say that. I was standing on the edge of a metaphorical precipice looking over with some serious decisions to make about my life. Inside me, I understood that there was something I was meant to be doing. There was something I was designed to be doing. I had a purpose. I had no idea what it was, and I had no idea how to actually manifest it. So instead, that stuff that I squeezed down, I redirected it into toxic behaviours. But because I had that understanding that I had a purpose, I was able to look over the edge and I was able to step back and say, no, this is not what I'm meant to be doing. There is something else I am designed to be sharing. There is a connection that I'm meant to be making and helping other people through this experience. 6 weeks later, I met my wife. We've been married nearly 10 years next year. I have a lovely daughter. She was 6 this week. So my life has been pretty spectacular as well. What I've come to understand though is from those experiences that everyone does have it. And when you don't have it, bad things happen. The actions that you take become catabolic and the outcome's catastrophic because actually you're walking around with your eyes open, completely catatonic. You have to have something you're focusing on. You have to understand what it is you're bringing for the greater good of those around you. Through my experiences of how I share this understanding and how I share these learnings with people, through sharing my mistakes and the errors that I've made, and also the incredible things that have happened through my journey from travelling the world, from backpacking in Southeast Asia, living in Australia, training with some of the world's greatest martial artists whilst living in Brazil. I've done some phenomenal things in these times. It hasn't all been tragic. But I've learned some great things, and I've learned 4 stages of work, 4 ideas that we go through in this evolution of our lives and our thinking. And I wanted to share those with you so you can start to break down what your purpose is. Because if you were uncertain or you're unsure what yours is, or you're looking at the people around you and you're wondering why they're behaving in such a way, actually if you understand these 4 stages, it will give you a different viewpoint. These 4 stages is the work that we're taught to do, the work that we're told to do. It's meaningful work and it's purposeful work. So how do we break this down? The work that we're taught to do. School, just reporting, not bashing, is an outdated factory model designed to create factory workers. It's post-industrial revolution. It teaches us 3 things: turn up on time, do as you're told, and live up to someone else's expectations. This is the model that we live in. What it does though is it stifles creativity. When we live in this space, it prepares us for work though. It prepares us to go and do a 9 to 5, which is okay. Whatever level of the educational system you leave, this is what it gives to you. It gives a level of conformity and a uniformity in the output, so you can understand who is going to be doing what and what they're able to do. But when we start to carry this, we stop stepping out. We start to follow the herd. We don't want to break the status quo. And whether or not we're meeting the grade, it starts to plague on us, and things like anxiety start to become prevalent. When we start to get a little bit frustrated about this and we start to understand, actually, there might be a little bit more that I'm here to give, the work that we're taught to do becomes the work that we're told to do. We know there's more that we can be giving, but we feel stifled, we feel confined by what we're doing. We're not sure what it is we need to be doing or can be doing, but someone else is telling us what to do, and we have to play to that. These anxieties suddenly become the frustrations, they become the agitations, and your relationships start to break down with your bosses, with your peers and the people you work with. I'm sure some people in this room have probably had some of those experiences. This then turns up into depression. This is workplace depression. Being forced to do a job that you don't necessarily want to do, but you have to because you have to make ends meet. It's an obligation to your family. And things start to get redirected. You start to drink too much. You start to potentially take drugs. You might even pretend it's okay and start drinking too much coffee because that's socially acceptable. Or even high-risk sexual activity. People wonder why office affairs start to happen. But then when we learn to ask the right questions, we learn to move out of this space and we learn to redirect this energy, then we find this thing called meaningful work. Now this is where the good stuff starts to happen. This is work that is full of meaning to you. When you're doing it, it makes you smile. You can get lost in it. You feel an energy. You want to do more of it. You maybe forget to eat your lunch. And you run through and you carry on doing more of it because actually it makes you feel good. You can immerse yourself in it and it has an impact on your emotional well-being. But this isn't the end. This is just the meaningful side of it. The next stage of this is actually moving into purposeful work. This is work that is full of meaning to you, but when you direct it to someone else, it becomes full of purpose to them. You're now working in service to someone else. You're now giving to them. You're now focusing your energy onto those people to help them, because it makes you smile seeing them smile. And how much more entertaining is this when you get this feeling? This is what purposeful work is. Purpose isn't something you just find, or doesn't just hit you like a thunderbolt. Purpose is a feeling that you cultivate. It's an action that you take. It's a verb, it's a thing that you do that is unique to you. It's the solution that you bring time and time again when you're at your fundamental best. So I've got some questions for you. So you can help to find your purpose perhaps. In the last 12 months, how many times have you been deeply proud of what you've done? How many times? And I don't want answers. You keep them to yourselves. And I want you to think about those moments. What was it you were actually doing that created that sense of pride? What was it you were doing for someone else? What was the activity that you were taking part in? What about the excitement? So in the last 12 months, what got you really excited? What are you really excited about coming in the next 12 months? What are those events? Again, what was it you were doing? Who are the people around you that you were impacting in those moments? Think about those activities. It's the thing that you make, the thing that you put into those relationships that creates that sense of pride, that excitement, that sense of something that is full of meaning to you and full of purpose to someone else. And then take those ideas and take those words and help them to and use them to help you craft what it is you're going to be doing for the next 12 months, the next 24, the next 5 years. Like I say, purpose isn't something you find, it's a feeling that you cultivate. It's an activity that you take part in, it's something that you grow. It's something that you do deliberately, consciously, and all of the time. This is how you find your life and you make it on purpose. Thank you.
Any, thank you ever so much, Nathan. I'll let you go that side. Any questions for Nathan? Any questions? I'm just going to step in. Yes.
I forgot the gentleman's name.
Nathan.
Nathan, your point with regard to the schooling was excellent. I grew up in the 1950s, but it seemed to me that the clock was the key instrument of the school. Everything moved, you went on to the next period and so on, training you for an industrial, what was then an industrial society. I also contend, and this sort of stifled me down, being an independent spirit, that I believe that everybody has got multi-talents, which in my case didn't come out till I was about 40.
Yeah.
I did a similar life. I was going all around the world and learning and trying to learn and doing various things. And it wasn't until I was about 40 that I realised I had certain talents and had the confidence to express them.
Yeah.
And that's what I like so much about your talk. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks, Bob. Any other questions? I'm just going to yeah. Any? No.
I'm interested
yes.
to know, Nathan, apart from being tall. Being the tallest now. How do you pay your rent or mortgage and feed your child?
So at the moment I'm in a transition phase, so I work 40 hours for another organisation, but I'm also a trainer and a coach, business coach. I also do leadership consultancy and I run my own personal development programs as well. And I help people to find this stuff in them as well.
Okay, thanks. Phoebe, yeah.
Mine's more a word
A word.
than a question. No, it's a sentence. Aren't we lucky to have choice? Not everybody has choice. You would possibly disagree, but I'm not convinced that everybody has
Let me throw it back. Choice about what?
lots of things.
We do have a choice, and what we do have a choice about in the majority is how we demonstrate who we are. We have a choice of the preferred medium. So if you look at, say, the Grand Masters, they might all want to create beautiful paintings, but Van Gogh and Da Vinci and Rembrandt will paint very differently. Now, some of them would have used watercolours or clay, some of them prefer to build cars. We have a choice about how we demonstrate, but there will always be a golden thread of philosophy that runs through everything that you do as an individual. Doesn't matter what hobby, what...
I'm not talking about myself.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
I've worked with a lot of people who don't actually, their life is such that to have that kind of degree of choice is very, very difficult.
Can I give one really big example that might challenge that?
One example, and then we'll. I've got the quiz answers here.
It's about achievement.
So the one example that I often talk about is Viktor Frankl. So he was in Auschwitz. He was a prisoner of that camp. Yet he was a neuroscientist, and his whole life was about sharing an idea of how people deal in these situations in the face of adversity. And he wrote his book on countless bits of paper that were confiscated by Nazis. He didn't know that his wife and his family had been killed in another camp. And he had this spirit of hope. And he was just driven by this, I've got to share this message. So even in this most horrendous environment, he was still exactly who he needed to be. We are not defined by our environment, we define our environment by what we put into it.
Okay, on that note, can we thank Nathan for his